Hey, everybody. Welcome to Gardens, the Untold Story. I'm your host, Ken Somerville, my co-host, the Invisible Gardener, Andy Lopez in the house. Without a background today, Andy, but that's okay. You know, you're just living in the green life, you know.
Yeah, I am. I have had a really super busy day. Started at 4 o'clock this morning, so there.
Well, and that's the thing, Andy. You are working in Epic Gardens every day, you know, because like
Ethic, what's an ethic garden?
Epic
Oh,
Gardens.
epic
Yeah.
garden.
Well, you know, you're
So
down
true.
there in Malibu and you are going out to $1 million estates or $1 billion estates,
So true.
working in their gardens, and you get to see amazing things. How many people are doing vegetables though in Malibu? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, people who are doing vegetables. Everybody's trying to do vegetables, whether they're on their back porch or whether they're in their backyard or greenhouses. I work on a farm, so I wish. See, what I wish I could plug my phone in. My problem is my phone is a Mac, Apple, and doesn't work with a PC. So otherwise, I was just plugging in, and you can see what I did today. Because that's one of the things I do is to take a short video of everything I do and pictures. And then you would see that. I'm thinking of buying. There has to be something that I can plug into my phone that allows me to plug into the PC, so I can download so I can show you the stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there is a program that will make it happen, but yeah, I don't use Apple anyway, so I don't know what it would be.
Yeah, because that's what. So today I worked at. I'm the head gardener on this farm. And I worked. I mainly, one of the things I do is take care of the chickens. Believe it or not, Big Bertha is in charge of the. So Big Bertha had there was a chicken died the other day, and a white chicken, And I go there. And I go, okay, who did this? And they all stood there and they all said, "We don't know. She was dead, and no idea what's going on." Big Bertha's going, "Don't look at me. I don't know." Big Bertha is the boss.
Yeah.
And so just today, when I show up, Big Bertha said, "Okay, everybody back. He's bringing me the food. I bring him. I brought him sunflower seeds today, unsalted. Okay. You don't want to give chickens salted anything. So I give him. So I go to the store. I buy stuff for me. Normally I don't eat it all, so I give it to. But Big Bertha says, "Okay, stand back," and everybody stood back, and she started eating the sunflower seeds. And I said, "Bertha, don't you want to give her the rest of your crop?" "No, I don't." But so I feed the chickens a variety of different things, depending upon what's going on. Because I also fed them peanuts, so you have to crack the peanut shells open. Mad dog. You have to crack the peanuts open and give them the peanuts. And then there's a big giant garden in there, a big greenhouse. It's caged in. It has all kinds. The problem I'm having there is people aren't. If it was me, I would be eating this stuff all the time. I had so for example, right now the squash growing, yellow gourd neck squash, the curvy kind, right? The yellow ones.
Yeah.
Most people like to pick them when they're fairly young and tender and slice them up and eat them. So if you let them go too big, too fast, you can't do anything with it, but maybe have a gourd that you can hang up or something, you can use.
Yeah.
And so my problem, I make things grow really well. So they're already about this. There's some of them are like, there's some small ones, but there's a whole bunch of them like that. They just went boom. And then there's the kind where there's a kind of squash with the stripes with a band, they have a stripe on it. I'm really, really good at, and then the tomatoes have gone zook like that really fast, and the small berries, there's boysenberries. I have a seed bank, so I have tons and tons of seeds. By the way, guys, I'm running a little behind in terms of Ken here gave me a list of all the shows that we had done, and I'm supposed to pick some new ones. And I'm going, what the heck is this? This is like the chapters of a new book, man.
Anyway, well, we've done a lot of shows, Andy. Like people can go back in history.
I'm looking at this stuff, and he's telling me, let's do some new shows. I'm going, okay. All right, let's do some new shows. So I'll need your guys' helps on things you want me to talk about, because I can talk about almost anything. And I'm looking at this stuff and I go, I did that. I said, I thought of a few things. I'm looking at, no, I did that one. No, I did that one. And you have to understand, each one of these shows is not a complete show by itself. You can still do several shows from there that we can see. It could be part 1 or part 2 or part 14 or part.
Yep.
But I could. So if there's something you want me to talk about, because today I only came up with 4 things that we can talk about in the future. And so I haven't to come up with any more, because as I look around at your list, I'm going, well, okay, we did that already. Okay, okay, well, we did that one already. Yeah, we did that one. Yeah, okay, now we did this one. Oh, look, we did. No, okay. So it's like, wait a minute. So I have 4 things that I could send to you for starting the next show. I have no idea what we're talking about today, because what are we talking about today? You do know?
Epic gardening. So I wanted to talk about, the difference between an epic flower garden, an epic vegetable garden, a Zen garden, things like that. And like, these are things you're dealing with in the communities that you work with. Like, there's so many different aspects of having or creating your own epic garden. And it really is based on what you are looking for, what you would consider.
No, it's based upon what you can afford. Because I have so many different customers who have so many different range of income. I have some customers that are millionaires, some customers that are billionaires. So when the billionaire does something, it's like, okay, I want an epic garden. I want that moved over there and put that there. So a millionaire will say, okay, I want an epic garden, but it won't be so easy. And then if you have the normal people, okay, I have an epic garden. I got 4 container plants here, and I got a little something going on over there. Because today I went to Port Hueneme. I work with a customer that has 600 trees. They had 900 trees.
Yeah. And
they're down to 600. And so I actually took a whole bunch of videos, because it's an HOA. It's a giant place with at least 200 or 300 or 400 people living there, families. Each one has a nice condo, the property, all the trees and all the plants and everything going out there. That's very epic. But they've done the same thing everybody has done throughout the years, is that they have like 1 billion sprinkler heads over there.
Yeah.
Can be small or large, depending upon what you consider epic, I guess, right? So they have I would say 1 billion, but the section, so they hire me to basically, what I'm going to do for them is I'm going to redo their soil. I'm buying Layton's compost, which is really the most amazing stuff I've run across in a long time. And so we are teaching them. So there are a few gardeners, what they do is they throw it on top, and that's wrong. You're supposed to blend it in with the soil that's there. Well, whatever you got, you have to break up the hard soil, it's clay, whatever it is. It's really mud. Mud hardens into hard clay, and it's like nothing goes through that. So you have to break that up, blend it in with the compost, and then mulch it. I use Layton's Aged Fine Forest. And it sounds as incredible as it is, because it's aged fine forest. And if you ever go into a forest and you see what's going under the ground, you're going to go, I want that. When a tree dies and it falls over and it starts to decompose, it's amazing stuff that it forms. Because I was happened to be fortunate enough to be around a tree when it died, and the core of it, there was a guy there, I remember, said, what are you doing? I'm taking the core out, because he would take everything from the center of the tree, which was a nice, it looked like peat moss. It was that kind of, it had already decomposed, but it was so rich in the right, I was going to say the biology of that tree, right?
Yeah.
Right? That's what it was. And so gee, what was I talking about? Who are you? What am I doing here? I don't know.
We're talking about epic gardens and a tree dying and breaking down. You're talking about the mulch that you're using.
Right, it's that farm. That's exactly what it is. It's an age mulch, because when the tree dies, it basically is a mulch. It becomes a mulch for the soil there. it breaks down into this amazing product that protects it from the sun, holds water, and the biology loves it. They'll live there forever if you take care of it. You have a sustainable environment. Literally a self-sustainable environment that you really don't have to do anything if you set that up. That's what a tree does. It provides for the carbon, right? Because it takes in carbon. That's what a tree does. It takes in carbon dioxide, gives off oxygen. What do you think it does with the carbon? It builds stuff. So when it dies, it has this resource of carbon that goes back, but in a form that you can't tell it's carbon because you look at it, you say, I can eat this stuff, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. But you put that in the ground, you put that in a container, or you make a liquid out of it and spray it, or make a compost from it. Making compost from it is really very, very different because all of a sudden you have super activated compost.
Yeah, and that's what you want. You want that activated compost. You want all that carbon because face it, Andy, everything organic on our planet is made up of cells, and you have to have carbon to create the cell. So we need that carbon in the soil, and having it coming from the plants, it's easier to break down to put back into more plants, not so much into the animal side, but we're supposed to eat those plants and get that as well. Like the deer eating the leaves off the trees.
Yeah. So I have tons of videos. Every Wednesday I go there because basically it's about maybe 100 different sections. I've broken it up into sections. Unfortunately, this was built 40 years ago where conservation and the use of water was like, so they have a mixture of sprinklers and drip mixed in together into the same line. If you know anything about that, no, they can't do that.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be doing that.
Right. So, and then they water way too much, and then they have yet to understand. The number one question that I get from these people is, okay, so why is everything dying? What is going on here, right? And I keep telling them, well, your number one culprit, city water.
Yes. Yeah.
That's it. So I'm trying to talk, and it's so hard to get them to buy a filtration system because I found a really good and expensive one. I think we had talked about that on our show. A really good filter that you can get. I think we didn't talk to the company, but it's only $2,000, $1,900 as opposed to $10,000. And a big property like this may need, big property may need like 4 of them. So it's one of the things I said today in my little videos, which I really have to. I apologize, guys, because lately there's been an explosion of. Well, it's always that way with me. I've been doing I'm doing this since 1970, and it's like I usually have to turn work away. So when I say I want more jobs, people come up out of the woodwork. I got a new customer, lives in the top of a mountain, and it's a magical place. It's sort of like not in the valley, not in the beach, but it's their own climate. And of course, he's only been there 3 years, and they never, when they built the place, they never brought in soil or anything like that for things to grow in. So it's growing on the side of a mountain, like clay stuff. They dig a hole, they water a lot, they fertilize, things die, they plant again, that kind of stuff over and over again. He said he's tired of things dying. He drove down the road. He goes by my place on a regular basis, take his kids to school. So my son says, Mr. Gardner. He said, I bet you that's something to do with the soil. This guy's a lawyer, really smart, calls me up. I go up there. Yeah, there's no soil. There's nothing there, water. I do have a magic wand, man. Sippity doo, that's hippity day. My favorite thing is to run around naked with my magic wand.
Right. You're invisible.
And that's my voice. No, I did a video called Gardner Gone Wild. That's a long story. But and so I'm going there tomorrow. Tomorrow, the very first day. So I'm going back to this place with 600 trees. That's epic. I mean, the gardens. You should see. So when I went there, things were dying. Okay, they were just dying left or right. Water was running down the street. They have this green moss everywhere, and things were. And it was super hot, but they weren't getting any water because it was just not going into the soil. There's no soil. It was just rocks, so to speak, hard clay. They're all running down. And they had to water enough so they don't die. They fortunately have patches of lawn, so they water the lawn like crazy, right?
Yeah.
So they lost 300 of the 900 trees. They're down to 600 trees. I've been there maybe probably almost 6 months now. I was looking at it. And I've been intravenously feeding them. In other words, I've been spraying them. And that's another issue with these people. So imagine 400 people all saying different things. Okay, so they're fighting for different things. So right now what's going on at that place is on the board, there's 5 people, right? So 3 people want to go continue with where they are. Everything's fine. We're using the fertilizers, so we have to cut trees down. So we lost 300 trees. We'll plant some more trees. Everything's okay. We have to spray for this. We have to prune that. And the other 2 people are going, no, that's not okay. Everything's dying. We're not going to lose any more trees. If we're going to lose more trees if we keep doing this, we need to do something. And this is the guy who can help us do it. And it's true, because they need to pay attention now. And they have to. If they've been amending the soil on a regular basis, they wouldn't have any problem. If they had maybe 30 years ago, they would be an amazing place now. The places that I go to are absolutely mind-boggling, because you go, what WTF? What is going on here, right? Because for example, I go to this place tomorrow. When I went there the other day, I said, "I'll give you $100 for every worm I find."
Yeah.
He couldn't find a single worm on his property, and they never can. And if I have another customer, which the lady, it's a beautiful, epic home. The outside is a castle. It goes from the beach, from the top of the hill all the way down to the beach. The lady says, "I'll take care of your beach area." So it's an absolutely maybe $20-40 million home. The gardens, when I went there 20 years ago, were really looking good, but they were still. She was already having a problem then. She was spending $4,000 a month water bill.
Yeah.
And I heard running water. I said, wait a second, let me listen for a second. I hear water running. Under the stairs, water was running to the ocean. And I said, why do I hear water running? And she said, I don't know. She had a leak.
Yeah.
And now everything was running down to the ocean. And then on top of that, she was watering so much, and there was nobody was bringing in compost. Nobody was doing anything with organic matter. They were just go to the nursery. She would spend like $40,000-50,000 on plants, right? So the nursery would bring in them, and the gardener would bring them, and they would just plant them. Pop a hole, dig a hole, pop, right?
Yeah.
It comes with soil, but it also comes with massive amounts of fertilizer, right? It's fertilizer in those little plants, right? All kinds of junk. So they've been doing that for years, and I kept telling her, you don't have to pull your plants up. I have some beautiful, amazing pictures of it, because when I started, she had major whitefly problem. She read my column for many years. She said, "Fine, come here and tell me what's going on." So I told her, and the first thing I did is I brought 100 bags of compost, put it in a certain area, ran it through a drip system, did my spraying. Within 3 months, the whitefly was gone. As a matter of fact, now her problem was that the neighbors have the same scenario, and it was whitefly infested. There's a solid shield, a force field going up around the place. The whiteflies come and stop. They don't go in. Don't go in there. Don't go in there because
there's nothing to eat in there. No.
The whitefly will land on these plants and go, yuck! What the heck? I want to eat over there, and that's literally what's going on. There's a few whiteflies are showing, and the reason for that they're still getting problems. They have whiteflies and psyllids. Psyllids is another insect that curls the leaves up and hides inside the leaves, so that you can't spray it or anything, And again, both of these are whiteflies and psyllids are creatures that Mother Nature has taught them to recycle. These plants need to be recycled. Eat them. Be good for you. You'll love these. But don't touch these because they're not good for you. They're healthy. See what I mean? So the only reason why it hasn't recovered, and this is a project that Leighton and I are working on now, because I finally turned her on to. I said, okay, he's going to provide. What we're going to do her place. We're going to take out all the soil. Take it out, throw it away. He's going to take it and recompost it, right? We're going to bring in some new compost into the property, blend it back into that place, and then replant. We're going to do a lab test every 6 months so that they can see the biology and what's going on.
Yeah.
They'll be freaked out when she gets the initial lab report that says this is toxic. You got toxic salt, toxic this, toxic that. Basically, they're all salts, right? Salt. When the Romans conquered other countries, they would salt the land.
So
That's what we're doing on purpose, right? Salting our land, right?
We got a question
I
from
didn't do it.
Hippie. I have a cedar that was transplanted, but it is yellowing off. What to do? Introduce biology. And of course, you're going to introduce biology. But Andy, what would you recommend? Like, obviously, the intravenous feeding or a foliar spray, sooner than later.
That is correct, right? That is the reason why I do foliar spraying, because it's exactly that. It's sprayed on the leaves, also on the trunk. One of the things about this, when you spray biology, it goes straight through wood. The wood actually absorbs it. So it goes right into all the different layers of the tree. It's a systemic. Yeah, and it's the same thing with diseases or pests. You spray it on the disease, it literally stops the disease dead, because they cannot survive it. And the same thing with the pests. The pests, it breaks down the system that the pest has for protection. It goes right into their body. Right? So the yellowing is basically that the root system is not working. Something happened. I think she said you got transplanted.
Yeah, it was transplanted.
Right. Well, that's a big thing for a tree. But that is like, and so more than likely you did it at the wrong time of year. There's the correct time of year to transplanting and the correct time of day. If you do it in the middle of the day and the sun hits the roots, it's going to go into major shock. They go, what the heck? The world is this? What is this? This is it's like, right. And so, and also a certain time of year. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I also want to point something out. A type of soil, like if you're, in a clay soil and you're just digging a hole, as soon as it gets water in there, you're drowning the plant because the water can't get out. You actually have to, make sure that whatever you're planting into, it can actually drain off.
So she didn't say anything. She didn't say anything about the planting. She didn't say anything what she did. So do that question again. Run it back again and see did she say anything? I planted this or I transplanted. I forget. Right?
Transplanted, but was transplanted.
Right. So she didn't. It's a she, right? Ghetto hippie. He, she.
I'm not sure if it's a he. I think it's a he.
It didn't say anything about the transplanting process, because the transplant it's important. So when I go to transplant something, first thing I tell the tree, okay, I'm going to tear you out of the ground and I'm going to put you over there, And so don't worry about it. You play music. So the first thing you want to do, you want to foliar feed the tree before you do the transplant. You want to foliar feed it so it's relaxed. Secondly, you want to soil soak the soil with your biology before you take it out. Thirdly, you want to be able to do it in the evening or at night, if possible. Never during the day, never during the summer times. You want to ideally the winter time or the fall. It depends where you live. It's the best time to do any transplanting. It's not going to put so much stress on the plant, because if you do it in the middle of the heat and all that stuff, it's just going to. It's no way that it can even foliar feeding. You can't tell a tree, open up, come on, drink the water, drink. No, it doesn't work that way. So it's too late now. It's been transplanted. It also depends on what kind of soil you're using. Did you put it in sand? Did you use Layton's compost? Because if you take Layton's compost and blend it in with the soil there, you have a much better mixture than to just plant it in the ground. So lots of things can determine whether that plant survives or not. Is how well you could damage the roots when you put it. You always want to have a ball there, around it. So a lot of times I'll dig around, get it moist, and then cover it with some kind of, I like burlap bag, start to cover it, wrap it up in a ball, and then move it rather than lift it up and everything falls apart. If that happened, if it all fell apart, then you have just destroyed the root system's ecosystem that was there to supply nutrients.
Well, right, and you're as soon as you're taking all that material off of the roots, that was the biology connected to the plant.
Yeah, exactly
right.
You're
not, re-inoculating all that biology. No. And there are some videos out there, guys, Korean natural farming methodologies about actually washing the roots off, letting them dry, then using a biological mix to soak the roots in so they have the biology there before you plant, and not digging just a little hole, but digging out a larger hole, taking the root mass and actually spreading it out, because the top 6 inches is your feeder roots, where your plants actually feed from. So you want those in the top. You don't want those in the bottom where there's nothing for those to eat. So you guys can research that particular methodology, and it's
actually a system. It's actually a whole system and how to do the transplanting. That's a big thing there, because for me, I can literally plant a tree, but it has to be under the right conditions. No problem, move it. Or any plant, I can transplant. But you have to learn how to bring the biology with you. To increase the biology of the plant, so when it won't go into such severe shock. That's why I use my liquids all the time when I do cuttings, for example. I always try to encourage the biology in the soil. That's why foliar spraying. So foliar spraying is what you have to do now, because there's nothing but what you do to the soil is you want to soak it with a good source of biology, a good liquid. If you have anybody, like, if you know me, call me up, I'll get you some liquid, because that's what I would do. My liquid is basically the best liquid you can buy in terms of biology, in terms of putting it in there. So locally, you have to find somebody who makes compost tea. That's a good alternative. That's a good. So if you find somebody who makes compost tea, get some of the tea, soak the ground. Normally, before you even plant, I would put the liquid in and then put the plant in the liquid, right? Because now you're not even sure that you're getting the liquid through your soil and through everything down to the plants. So you may want to have a deep root feeder. Get that liquid down there where the root is, because right now the roots are not working. They're just sitting and going, WTF, what just happened? I don't know, man. I was having tea. Next thing you know, the lights went out and the circuit's gone and the TV's not playing and nothing's working and I'm getting hungry and So now it's too late, but you can at least cover that up to some extent, and then you have to do the foliar spraying, and even the foliar spraying depends a lot on a functioning root system, because if you have a root sitting there, you foliar spray, you think that it's going to suck it in. It doesn't. The only reason why it suck it in is because the roots cause a suction that pulls it in. If the roots don't have it, if there's nothing being sucked into it, all that'll happen is that the plant will get it on its leaves, on its trunk and stuff, but it won't be absorbed as much. So that's why it's always good to ask before you actually do it. So the problem I see with most people, they do stuff and they say, what should I do now? So I say, well, first of all, next time you're going to do something, you should have talked to us first. I'm going to do this. And then we would have told you the same thing. Be careful in the transplant process. You have to make sure that you provide a good home for it. So that means when you dig a hole, you have to be a big enough hole. You can't just put it in a clay environment.
Break up the soil, mix in some good compost, organic material, soak it down with biological extracts like Andy's worm juice, etc., so that there's life there.
Otherwise,
so
you're going to be in trouble.
The roots go in there, everything can communicate and attach and function again. Because if you're just throwing it in a hole, it ain't going to function too well.
So here are these 600 trees, right? They're growing. They've been there for quite a few years, but there's nothing in. So all of a sudden, there's no biology down there though, because the water's been running out. They're living, and you look at it, you can't even hit it with a pick because it's so hard. So you have these roots down there that have no oxygen, no biology. All they're getting is with water on top. Because they sprinkle the water a lot, so the upper roots are getting water, but the rest of the system is not working, and you can tell because the whole tree is like, I don't know. It's like, what? And so that's why the foliar helps, but I also soak the ground, because fortunately, no matter how bad it is, the biology tends to survive in there if you do it often enough, and if you start to amend the soil that's there. That's the key to it. You break up the hard stuff there, add the best compost you get your hands on, add whatever biology you can put in there, turn it over, blend, pat it back down again, mulch it over so protect it from the sun. That stuff will expand because it's waiting for it to happen. It's a situation that's perfect conditions for the soil to come back. If you because it's not like you're going to be doing something alien to it. You're going to say, here's some compost. Sorry, we haven't been making. I told the people, gee, if you've been taking away stuff for years. If you learn to add it, if you learn to add
yes.
on a regular basis, don't take but add. Like the farm I'm working on, they haul stuff away and then they bring back this wood chip mulch, which is not really the best thing that you want to do. You have compost. Lately they bought some compost, Layden's compost. They just threw it on top, left it there, and I'm looking at it,
and it's drying out, blowing away, running down.
Right. That's right, because I get a little note from the biology. Dear Andy, we're all dying here. These people should throw it on top, and the soil is burning up, and then the wind comes along.
Well, are they making big SOS signs? You know?
Oh, it's really bad. I was there this morning, and we did four coral trees. 2 had died recently, and they were replaced. Because you can only do that so long, no oxygen, no air, no food. If your root systems go, the whole tree dies. There's nothing that can keep a living tree on top without any roots. You know what I mean? So they pulled it all out maybe 2 years ago, because I've been there 6 months. So I got there maybe about a year after. On both sides, they had gone because they water like crazy. Don't even pay attention to. So I wish I was there when they were planting it, because I have no idea what they did other than they take the roots out, dug a few things around, get some soil, put them back in again. So all I did was to break up what was there, had them throw that away, replace it with Layden's compost and soil mix. I never want to use the compost straight because it's too active, too biologically active, too strong. The plants cannot handle that kind yet. So you mix it together. Normally, it gets mixed with soil anyway. So Layden's stuff is 1/2 compost, 1/2 soil mixed together. That's the perfect thing to be giving to trees now. And so they take out the old stuff, put the new stuff in carefully amongst the roots. And ideally, if I would normally I get Superman to come along, pull the trees out, we amend the soil, put the trees back in, and plop it down, and we're good. But that doesn't work anymore. So you don't really want to move the trees out or anything. So all you have to do is start giving some place for the biology to grow, which basically around the roots of these trees. And so once that starts to happen, it'll expand out. That's why I use what I call tree vents. These are clay drain pipes.
I was going to ask you if you were actually putting in those beside each tree in this new project. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, right. But what's happening now is that because of the tariffs, those are products were made in either China or some other place like that, maybe Africa.
The clay piping, you mean?
Yeah, right. The clay, and they're actually used for drain holder. They're clay drain pipes, right? They're little. Yeah. But these pipes are made specifically with this type of clay that's paramagnetic. And so if you have the whole purpose of putting the pipes in the ground is to get a city growing of this biology. A place where it can be established, right? So usually you run a drip system along the top. It's about 1 foot deep, or maybe 2 foot deep, or 3 foot deep, depending upon how far you can go. I did another project where we did 2 foot deep clay drain pipes. You can cut them any size you want to. A green grate goes on top. So these clay drain pipes, if you did nothing but stick them in the ground, if you have a good soil and good biology, you have to do nothing to them except maybe put a drip and drip down in there. The biology itself will, if you can lift it up, the mycelium will be impregnated into the clay. Yeah.
Well, because the clay will actually weep the moisture out and feed everything.
That's right. That's absolutely right. There's a name for it, which I don't have I have the Old Farmer's Almanac. I just got it the other day. This company selling this product, basically little clay pipes. They look like little mushrooms. They go in halfway in the ground. And you water into the clay pipe. It's a name for it, and it waters the whole area around. But so in that clay pipe, I put the best compost I can get my hands on. When I was doing it in the old days, I would make my own compost. And I would put it in there. The compost is already bacterially rich, minerally rich. So I have rock dust to the compost, right? And anything else I get my hands on, like I'm doing down here. I'm adding biochar. I'm adding Michael's compost to it. I'm adding, that other. I keep forgetting that weird name that Michael sells. It's a biological tense product that people buy. I forgot the name of it, but so I buy that and I feed and I use the worms to produce the worm juice. So and that when that goes into these containers, and of course I buy a lot of stuff with mycelium in it, right? So the mycelium it will the colony, and then the water can't be city water; it has to be filtered water.
Yeah, so or else you're going to kill all the biology again.
That's right. So I've had many customers who I said, well, this isn't going to work until you get a filter. And I said, okay, so and it's impossible for the water not to go in there when the sprinklers are happening, right? Because I've had my own properties before. What I would do, since I didn't have sprinklers, I had a garden filter hose, on my hose, filter out the water, which then I would pour. But what I do for the emergencies, like for these trees, we're going to be putting in the pipes, and then I'm going to be actually taking my liquid and injecting it down further. Because when you go, when your drain pipes is already a foot down, you have a deep root feeder. It lets you go a foot down further. So you're down deeper than the foot. So the idea is to get the biology growing really deep down in there, because what will happen is they'll take hold down in there, and it'll start to break it up, and then air will start, because one of the things about the deep root feeder is it injects air.
Yeah.
Right? So I have a bubbler. Actually, I have a couple of rats, and they sit there going the water.
I thought it was a hamster on a hamster wheel.
It was a hamster on a thing. It was a little hamster, and it with an oxygen mask blowing bubbles. But so I would aerate the biology down in there on a regular basis, and keep increasing, adding more biology on a regular basis. That's what I do when I go spray. Is I constantly adding biology. Yes. And one of the things that people complain about, because sometimes, for example, I make a batch and it's not being used, so that it really smells. That's really the best time to use it, because that's when the biology is the most active, right? So it tells me this is a good time to spray or to inject it, because one of the things I go for, my goal when I make a liquid, is to get to that stage. See, in my old days, I would say it was not ready yet. Nope, not yet. Oh no, it's already now. Yeah, and I would teach people. They would say, "Oh, that smells awful." No, it smells wonderful. It shows you that it's alive, and that's the stage of biology. You want that in your soil now, because that will.
Now let's make a caveat to that, guys.
Caveat. Oh my God.
Yeah, that really nasty smell is going to be your earlier stages of biology, your anaerobic biology. That's what we want deep down in the soil, not on top. That's the biology that can live in the depths of that clay or whatever your substrate is.
That's exactly what you want, right?
Supposed to be there.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so that's why Andy's putting it deep down these pits too.
Right. It's also very useful for any of these, because one of the things we're going to do a show on, for example, Phytophthora, lethal yellowing, peach leaf curl, and it's phyllodes. These are the ones I mentioned before, like Phytophthora and lethal yellowing. All soil disease. Peach leaf curl is a soil disease.
Yeah.
And the best way I tell people, the good guys and the bad guys don't live in the same place. And ideally, what you want to do is you want to get an army of the good guys and attack the bad guys.
Yeah.
You see, right? So that's this particular liquid at this stage in its development, because if you leave it alone, it will change on you to where that's what it's supposed to be normally when it's on the surface. Eventually, ends up in the earth, and then the whole process changed to where it's an underground soil being as opposed to be an air being. Because these roots and all these things are underground, and that's the whole process that the Mother Nature has set up. So I've learned to to increase the biology. So what like this lady was, he was talking about the yellowing. So the foliar application has to be immediately absorbable. So if you was to try to spray a organic fertilizer, or if you was to try, so that wouldn't work because that's not immediately absorbable. Any of these organic fertilizers on the market now are not organic, are not immediately absorbable. They need a living biology to break it down, and that's one reason why organic fertilizers don't work really well in dead soil, right? Because you have to have the biology to break down this organic fertilizer. But there are lots of liquids you can make that are instantly absorbable. So that's where you learn how to make these biological sprays, for example, because that's what it is. You're spraying biology that's already super activated that will you can spray onto the leaves that they will absorb, and what you want them to absorb is trace minerals. So what you have to do is learn how to make a trace mineral spray, a biologically active trace mineral spray. And one of the ones that I learned early in my life, and that was like 1802, was how to use fish emulsion.
Right.
Fish emulsion is already super biologically active. You can smell it. If you don't deal with it correctly, it's going to go bad on you, walk out on you. Next thing you know, it's like, okay, right? You ever
Your wife's going to run away from home. The birds are going to fly away. Yeah.
So that's probably one of the easiest. It depends on the well. He didn't say what plant was it. Was it? It wasn't
a birch tree.
Right. So ideally,
cedar. Sorry, a cedar tree.
Right. So fish emulsion would be very good here. You want to get without the urea, and fish emulsion you want to do a little bit because all you need is a tiny little bit. So you may have like in a gallon of distilled water, maybe half a cup, maybe a quarter cup. And you foliar spray that, you'll find that will be instantly absorbed. And if you wanted to go a little bit further, you would learn to add some maple syrup to it. Molasses, maple syrup is good. Molasses is also good. Though a small amount, like maybe a couple of tablespoons in a gallon, stir the whole thing up, right? And if you were really smart like me, you wouldn't use water. You would use coffee. Coffee is an acidic organic coffee. It has iron, magnesium, sulfur in an assimilated form that the plant can absorb.
Yeah. Now I want to make a point on the maple syrup, guys. If you're using just your normal table maple syrup, there's different grades. Now it used to be 1, 2, and 3, with 3 being the most nutrient dense. Now it's called dark or very, very dark.
Yeah,
it's the one with that really burst of flavor. Most people don't like it, but that's where all the materials are for the plant. All your calcium, your magnesium.
That's what you want, and that's what you want.
You don't want to use just your normal table syrup. You want to find that very, very dark table syrup or grade 3.
And that's probably the easiest way to help this plant right away, because and the trick would be to don't be a moron, right?
Yeah. It's all about balance,
So just think about it. Just think about it. Doing it in just think about trace minerals. So you want a trace. You want a little bit in your water on a regular basis, and that will encourage the tree will absorb it by burying that. Right. That's why
burying fish in the garden is what my grandpa used to do. Used to go catch sucker fish in the spring for that. Like I know lots of people that did it for their potato plants. They bury it down below where they're planting. Yeah,
and that's really when you think about it, that might even be really good to go out and get a small fish you can buy at the store, and actually get a couple of them and bury them around the plant, around the tree, to encourage the roots, the soil, the biology break down in the soil, because that's one really, really good way to do that, You see the fish thing, anything from the ocean. I lived in Florida, so I was able to get things from the ocean. You learn how to desalt it because you don't want to have too much salt in. But that stuff is so biology rich. You bury it. You could crush it, make a tea out of it. Lots of things you can make it. You literally can make a tea out of it. That's why you buy the fish emulsions already in a liquid state for you to use. Yeah. But that's a very, very simple way to help that, because you do that. What you want to do is you want to spray it on a regular basis every time you water. So you water you soak the ground with it on a regular basis, but you also spray the leaves and the trunk with it on a daily basis. I would just give it a little bit, spray it. It's probably not a very big tree, right? It's not a giant thing, but hopefully you have a little spraying equipment that you can spray the plant, spray the trunk, spray the leaves, spray. The best time is in the evening. Is the best time if you can go out there at night, because the spray will last you longer than if you sprayed it in the middle of the day where the sun will evaporate and so on. It will disappear very fast. That's the hardest time for the plant anyway to absorb nutrients. So you do it at night, and ideally, if you had Old Farmer's Almanac, you will see the different signs of the moon. When is the best time to foliar feed the tree? If you did that during the right time, it would be more open to absorbing nutrition than if you do it in a weird time when it has its body closed. I don't want anything. I don't want it right now. Sorry, I don't want. So that's part of it. You want to learn the cycles of nature. You want to learn when the moon is doing its thing, because if you do it at the right time, it enhances the ability of the plant to absorb the nutrients. That's what you want. And then you have to if you haven't done it yet, you want to amend the soil that you just planted it in. And I don't think you planted it in compost. Who set that question? Did you make any compost mixture when you plant the tree in it? Did you do that?
I don't think anything like that was done, but I do want to point out, guys, that your cell division happens at night once the sun goes down, because all the biology during the day is working on taking those photons, etc., converting it to energy, etc., doing processes. Just like a child, they say, oh my God, your child grew up overnight. It literally, the cells divide at night. When our bodies go to sleep and we're not using that, then the cells are actually going into division mode and creating new cells. So your plants grow at night as well. So like Andy said, if you're spraying that on the evening, it's going to be used for cell division, and it's not going to vaporize off in the daylight. But
by the way, the cedar tree is not dead. It's just
not quite.
It's just yellowing. Okay, so it's like it still has a chance to recover. But so he said in here that it's a dead cedar tree, and I said it's not dead yet. But yeah, that's absolutely right. The time when you feed things is very important. The timing is very, very important.
Well, and you're feeding, like, especially the fish emulsion, you guys have to understand that that's your, I want to say aerobic biology. That's the biology that needs to be deeper in the soil. When you're doing the foliar of that, it's not going to be deep in the soil where it would be normally living, but that just means you're feeding the biology that exists there, the different components, so that they can make the anaerobic or the aerobic biology. They're using it as a food source. It's not generally going to be used as biology that would normally be on that leaf, or in that area of the tree. It would be the biology that's lower in your soil. So you're supplying a food source. That's the one thing with foliars, Andy. It doesn't matter if it's biology that the tree needs in their leaf. It's either going to be going in where it's necessary, or it's going to be food for the biology that's there. And all those cells need those components to build new cells and to build more biology, because every cell division, you don't need just the biology building the cell. You need the biology that's going to run that cell afterwards. So it's so much in there that works all together.
That's the trick, because you're going to find especially on epic properties where you have such a blend of plants that you normally don't find together in nature. These things are growing side by side, and they're all trying to survive. And so it's important to when you make a liquid, a biology liquid, that you blend it as a wide range of biology sources as you can,
biodiversity.
rather than just one particular. So the fish emotion is just a temporary, short-term thing, something you could do now, but you also want to start bringing in the compost tea. That's ideally, you should be able to find compost tea. Find the best compost you can, find in that city. Who makes the best compost, right? And you're also going to find he also makes compost tea. Get the tea from him and use that. But don't just stick to any one particular thing. You'll find that there are lots of other things on the market that you can use. Many things that you normally can take for yourself are also work on your plants as well, because I buy a lot of these minerals. I buy a lot of these minerals for my personal use, but they also are absorbable if you combine them to the soil. Or so ideally you want to, if you make compost, everything should go through your compost pile, and then that's the compost you should be using. If you're not using, try to find somebody who is, because that is really the best ideal way to do it. Sooner or later, you have to go back to what Mother Nature does, and that's compost. So if you want any plant, anything you're growing, any vegetable, that's what's going on with all these properties. They have gotten away from paying attention to compost. And they buy stuff that's not really compost. There's no biology in the store when you buy this stuff, right? So it's sealed in there. There's nothing in there. It may have good organic matter or good, some things have good mixtures that they add to, H4S or whatever else. And they have some biology, but this is not normally what you would find in the ground. So if you buy that, you have to really add the biology to that. I was thinking about it the other day. I said, well, one lady asked me, well, this is all I can buy. Fine, buy that and buy some other stuff to it and add it to it and make it an even better product. You see, right?
Well, and that's the thing. Like, if you're buying, or you have to buy from a big box store, realizing you're not getting the biology in what you're buying, then you need to create or find that biology. Like, Andy's worm juice, Wiggle Brew, Fish Brew. There's companies that you can get this stuff from and just add it in. It's like if you're spraying a pesticide on your plant because you have to, 24 hours later, spray the biology back on, bring the biology back to save your plant. Okay. But, like, you have to add the biology. That's the creation of every organic life form. Like even Andy. Andy's made from biology.
My favorite thing is to go around and pee in the garden.
That's a little too concentrated, Andy. Like,
I don't have to pee on a tomato. I don't pee on a tomato vegetable. I ideally would find a little spot. When I lived in Cuba or Puerto Rico, that's pretty much what they did. They had little potty things that you lift the top up and you go in the ground and move it around. You go different places, and it works because that's your biology. But the animals, you basically go through all the animals, or the poop of the pee of every animal that you have. I should water tonight. Kelp banana extract. Ooh, rice water, and molasses. Right, water solid. Got the trace minerals and biology. Good. Is this Lainey? Is it she? Isn't? I can't tell.
I believe it is. Yes.
Good for you. That's what you got to do. It's just be creative, get the best that you can get your hands on. Nowadays, it's so easy. Again, guys and ladies and guys, ladies and gentlemen, I would go to Acres USA, ACREAs USA.com, AcresUSA.com. It's done by good old farm boys. They're all organic. Look in the back, you get the magazine. Look in the back, you're going to see tons and tons of resources that you can get this liquid from. I was looking at bat guano. I was looking at seabird guano, right? I was looking at the mixtures that these farmers are making, and they know all about bricks. They know about the biology of the soil, and they deal with millions of acres, right? They have a 10,000 acre sprayer where they spray around, and make a billion tons of compost. So that's a really good resource for you to find things. Nowadays, you can just Google You'll be surprised how many places they sell these wonderful products that you can use because you don't have to create them yourself. Other people are making them.
Well, and try to shop locally, guys,
Yeah,
whether you're in Australia or Europe,
yeah, yeah.
Canada, the
Local is good.
US. Yeah, the more local, the better off
That's the
everybody's
first
going to
thing I
be.
would do. Join an organic garden club, and you find lots of people that make compost. You'll find you go to farmers market, you're going to find the local farmers are there, and they say, where do you get your compost from? Oh, I make my own. Go, can I buy? Yeah. So you can, and also they say I buy this product or that product. They make their
Yeah,
own product. A lot of them make their own teas. So that's the thing to do. If you do it local, you also are dealing with the local biology that's in your area, which is even better,
yes,
right, than getting something from another place that has biology from somewhere else. So if you get local biology, that's even better because that will work better for your particular climate, your environment that you're in,
yeah.
stuff like that, right?
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I look at bees for beehives, and you can buy a bee from, say, Spain and bring it to Canada. It isn't going to last the winter. It's going to die off because it's not from here. It doesn't know the environment. It doesn't know when to shut down. In the fall,
You have to buy
etc.
little coats for it. You have to buy a coat and
Yeah,
shoes
and that's the same with the
and a little
biology. If
mask.
you're buying biology from Hawaii and using it in the northern states of Alaska, it's not going to survive very well. So
So that's
it's
one
better off
thing
to get
about
the local.
that's what's good about Korean farming because they usually basically get what local.
Yeah, yeah.
So you go.
Indigenous microorganisms. You're
Right. So we
getting from
drive
the
around.
local
If you see a
environment.
farm that's doing really well, say, "Hey, can I have some of your biology?" They say, "What do you
Yeah,
mean?" Well, I could get some biology to grow in a little container on your property, take it over to my property, and get it to
yeah,
survive. But then you also have to say, "How? What are you doing on your property?" Because that's the key to this biology, right? It's so
yeah.
different than my property or somebody else's property. So if they're good farm, if you go to a farm, the guy's doing the right thing, you want to say, "Well, yo, you have animals, or you have." You're recycling everything. So our
Our
mosquitoes
mosquitoes
are,
wear fur coats. She's
yeah,
saying
that's the thing. That's the
that's
thing.
the thing of living in Canada.
That's the thing. Exactly right. That's it in a nutshell. So
Oh, Andy.
I still have to come up with a list of what we're going to be talking about. So I'm going to be working on it. But
Okay.
I gave you the name of a couple of them already because like how to control phytophthora is a very bad disease. I want to cover some of the really super bad diseases and how they can be controlled. It's just like in the human body, you don't get rid of diseases, you control them. So we have cancer, we have all these things in our body already, but they're being controlled by the condition the body is in.
Well,
So
it's just like Lily was telling me today in her searching on the internet that Alzheimer's is actually a calcium buildup in the brain that stops the signals, and it's all based on the biology not breaking that down, not getting the signals to break it apart. Our own health is all about the biology, guys. It's not just the plants and the animals,
I'll
because
tell
we're
you,
animals too, baby.
I'll
So,
tell you something really interesting about
uh
that.
huh,
Silly would love to know. So it's called. I talked about sun Suncorella a couple of times,
yeah,
many on this show, and this sun Suncorella basically is a concentrated form of chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is the closest to hemoglobin in blood. Is almost
yeah,
identical. And the chlorophyll, what the chlorophyll does, which is what happens when you become a vegetarian, you eat a lot of fruit and vegetables, right? You get the green chlorophyll. That stuff washes the calcium away and clears your connection. That's what chlorophyll does.
okay,
Okay. Right. So you take that, the more you take that in your body, the more chlorophyll you have in the body, the more it will circulate through all these joints, these connections, and it will wash them away. The chlorophyll will wash the calcium and toxins or other things collect on these. They're basically rods. You don't have one connection, you have rods, and the energy jumps across.
yeah.
So when those rods are coated with junk and toxins and whatever else, nothing works. So chlorophyll is the only thing that washes it away. Just saying, folks. Just saying. I'm just saying. Just
Yeah,
saying.
well, I just wanted to bring up this comment here. Okay, so I switched to living soil beds to grow in, and I have completely different soil now. the same soil, but now just in beds. And whoa, the new life is insane, just crazy.
That's
So
right.
much life inside living soil. It's so amazing. Exactly. And without that life there, without that
Yeah.
biology creating those new cells, we don't have plants, we don't have animals. So
Just key into
yeah,
feeding the living soul, giving them the food
yeah,
that they want. That's what you want. That's your whole job right now is to say, okay, all right, everybody, what can I give you now that you could use? And you just be logical about it. You'll be surprised how easy it is to feed them. That's why I like a worm farm. You feed the
yeah.
worms, they give you this liquid. You give the liquid to your beds, and they go nuts. See,
Well, just
everything's
think
there.
about it, Andy. I don't farm plants. I don't grow plants. I grow biology.
That's
When I
right. That's what
focus
you
on
do.
that, the biology does this amazing, amazing
Yeah,
work.
put some worms in your garden and make sure and the worms will take off.
Yep,
That's one of the first things I would do in your garden. That would be Chadwick, right?
yep,
I think it's right. That would be the first thing I would do. Have more worms in there so that you don't even have to do anything,
yeah.
right? You don't have to worry about doing anything because the garden will feed itself. Hey, forward. Hey, hi.
That's our friend Howie from Vancouver Island. And guys, check out his podcast. He's got some fantastic stuff as well. But guys, we're at the hour mark. So Andy, brother, it has been a wonderful day. Hopefully next week we can get your background working again, and
Yeah, I don't
you'll
know
send
what's
me the
going
list.
on. I got a nice green screen though, the green screen, but I couldn't get my background. I couldn't get it up, so it's like, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Okay,
But
guys, see
anyway,
you later.
guys, for tomorrow, we should have Chiropractic is Sexy on tomorrow morning with the ladies. So I'm not sure what they're going to be talking about, but you're going to want to definitely check that out. Amazing information about, our bodies and how our bodies work. So guys, have a wonderful day and we will see you tomorrow.